I want you to grind me up, roll me like you love me, make it last enough, stroke me while you smoke me.
What's up, everybody? I am back with another review of Chasing Orlando Season 1, Episode 2. And this episode is Silk, Shade, and Chaos. Now, I just want to start off by saying this is my second time recording this episode. Yes, I had some drama and conflama, but that's all right. We're going to get through it. And I'm happy, we're just gonna keep it going. Secondly, I want to say congratulations to Scotty by Nature TV on his move to the ATL. Scotty, congratulations. Wish you all the success. I know you're going to do great things. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to my bae, Jamar84, Jamar Washington. Thank you so much for watching my commentary. It means so much to me. I enjoy everything that you all do at Chasing Reality. I love you all. Thank you so much for keeping in touch. I reached out to Jamar because I was so anxious. I was sitting in front of my TV on Wednesday and I was like, where's the show? Where's the show? So I reached out to Jamar on Instagram and I said, hey babe, I'm looking for the show. Where is it? And he sent me back a message and he was like, no boo thing, it's Thursday. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, my anxious ass. And then we got it on Friday. So thank you so much for keeping me on track and schedule. And now we will proceed on with the show. So now, opening scene, we see Devin and Cali Boy. They go outside to talk about the conversation that ensued between Cali and Max about him being from Florida. So Devin explained that maybe he wouldn't have went in as hard as Cali did, and he could have, explained it a little differently. Cali was saying it wasn't his intention to come off aggressive, but he was just saying that you're here now, and so if you're gonna be here, then rep where you from. But I can understand where Max was coming from too. He's like, I'm not from Florida, so I'm not gonna rep Florida as if I'm from Florida. So I can dig it. I see both ends, but it wasn't that serious. And then as they converse, and then Cali says, I'm not that gay. And Devin said, babe, we all gay. And he said, well, I'm not that gay, because he said, where I'm from, that'll get you popped. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you do all that reckless jaw jabbing and letting it unhinge just like that, I mean, that probably will get you popped anywhere. But hey, maybe that's just me. So then Max goes to elaborate and explain that, he meant no harm by what he said. And Cali was catching the tail end of a conversation, and he was like, maybe because of his age, maybe his hearing isn't all that good, or maybe he needs to just clean his ears out. Whatever it is, he misunderstood, and no harm, no foul. It's okay. And then they go back into the venue, and Max is explaining that, because he's a Cancer, they just don't play like that. And so then everybody starts to sharing their astrological sign. I hear Cancer, I hear Capricorn, I hear Virgo, I hear Gemini. Here's my thing. I don't know what your sign has to do with how you behave, but okay. since we sharing, I'm a Pisces. Cali Boy says, "Oh, you a Cancer? Well, that explains a lot. You know, you sensitive. You know, we can't go and be calling you out your name, and we can't go treating you that way because you a Cancer." So he decided he would reconcile with Max and keep it cute. So they toast and they cheers to a successful night. Chef Pablo says that he's very happy that he had a successful event. Cali Boy was saying, you know, he wanted to keep it peaceful because he was supposed to be hosting. And I said, I thought you were supposed to be hosting too. But I didn't see much of that going on. Maybe he was supposed to be hosting the cast and not the actual formal event. I don't know. Maybe we can get clarity on that. I thought it was supposed to be the actual event. But it didn't look like much of that. Ayo said it was a grand old time. The only thing that was missing was the AC. Then we see B Baby Lindo. He shares with us that he is going on a new endeavor, which is the Mr. Glamorous pageant. And he has never done a pageant before, so he's nervous yet excited about this new journey that he is embarking on. He says that it is a lot of time, it is a lot of money, it is a whole lot of everything involved to become prepared for a pageant. He says while others have a lot of sponsorships, he was the only sponsorship on his ship, but he made it work, and he believes it's going to be worthwhile. And yeah. So, two things that I observed in this scene. One was the lip syncing. It was very exaggerated. No criticism, only feedback. Brian, I would definitely recommend that you work on your lip syncing. There is always room for improvement, and I feel like you could go a long way. The other observation I made is the cape that you had on in your rehearsals. Now, I want to say, because we never saw a clip of that cape in the actual pageant performance, so I want to say that that cape was for practice. However, I couldn't help but notice that it looked like it came straight out the pack, because it had all the creases in it, and it looked like that I could have just took it off and refolded it up and put it directly back in the package. That's it. So Baby Lindo said that he did not win the 10K, but he did bring home the trophy for most handsome. Congratulations. And he wants to give a shout out to his sister, because she's not a mother to him, although she does have a nurturing spirit, or he has a nurturing spirit, and that would be De La Renta, who helped with all of his costumes in preparation for the pageant. So we want to give a shout out to De La Renta. Moving right along to Chef Pablo, we see him preparing dinner for his family / team, and he wants to get feedback from them on the event. So they're sitting down at this beautifully decorated table, and they are gathered together. And so we see Pablo's brother. Now I just want to say that I was watching this real time live, and I couldn't help but notice that at first I said that his brother kind of looked like Fredro Starr. But when I look back at it again, I was like, no, he kind of looks like a really, really cute Donnell Jones, because I think he looks better than Donnell Jones. So he looks like a cuter Donnell Jones. And then he was giving thanks and praise to his brother and his sister-in-law, Stephanie. She was the bartender at the event. And then also his friend Denzel for his contribution and help for what he did. And then his boyfriend Raymond for facilitating the decorations and just being a positive support system and being by his side. And I thought that was really great. We also got to see Chef Pablo's mom again, and we got to meet his aunt. He also shared that he's going to be putting on another event coming up, and it's going to be geared towards preventing violence, gun violence, because recently he was affected by gun violence by way of a nephew, and I think that nephew is by way of Raymond. So yes, he's going to be hosting an event that is going to be geared around non-gun violence. And also, I want to highlight and give a big up to Pablo for landing a role or some casting opportunity with BET. So, big ups to you, Chef Pablo. Then we have Ayo. He comes on the scene. He's going to see Cali Boy with a known makeup artist from Tampa, Josh. They go to Cali Boy's house to discuss the Puff and Paint event. And Cali Boy and Ayo both agree that the Puff and Paint event was a 9.5 out of 10. Because, you know, us and with all the smoke and stuff, you know, it got a little warm. And then Cali Boy wanted to discuss his confrontation with Nicki, as he referred to Max, because Max had on a Nicki Minaj t-shirt. So yeah, he said he don't even know that girl, and he still don't know that girl or what she do. So yeah, but what he did gaze upon was that scrumdiddlyocious drink of water at the end of the table, that be Marley J. And I do agree that Marley J is yummy, yummy, yum, yum. He is a delicious piece of trade, and if he kept his mouth shut, like if he just don't talk, just look at him, I touch him too. So then they get into this conversation about being underpaid and issues about how Pablo might have felt about Cali Boy at the event. Cali Boy saying that people were going back to Pablo with information, and Cali Boy's reasoning was if Pablo in fact felt some kind of way, he could have came to him. My point of view is, if you know that people are going back saying something and you want to salvage this relationship, then why don't you reach out to Pablo and say, hey Pablo, I've gotten wind that people have been coming back to you saying stuff, and I want to know, could we talk? Because I don't want anything coming back to you being said that's not true. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding between you and me. That's the mature thing to do, especially at your age, being that you pointed out that you're 41 going on 42. So I wouldn't want to create bad blood if I don't have to, but that's me. So then Callie comes up with the idea that he wants to throw a pajama party, and he wants it to be just the cast, no plus one, so that they can kind of reconnect, reestablish their first impression, kind of reset the environment. And he wants to co-host with AO. So AO reluctantly says, okay, we can do it. So they create a video invite to send. And they're going to call it the Silky Shady Party. Okay, cool. So now we have AO and Brian meet up. They meet up for dinner. And AO catches Brian up on the puffin paint that it was lit, and almost had a little confrontation, but everything was smooth. It was smoothed out. They also discuss their careers and where they are currently. Brian shares that he's been entertainer now for 3 years, and I guess his learning curve is proving himself, because he's still in the process of establishing himself, making a name. So he's still, where I see it, trying to find his footing. And AO's been in entertainment now for 7 years, and his biggest qualm is the pay inequity. And he's like, if you don't have the mindset to be in this thing, you'll crumble. So AO shares with Brian about the upcoming pajama party on the 18th. Brian's like, cool, I'm looking forward to it as long as people aren't shady. AO's like, well, you shouldn't receive any shade, And Brian expresses that people are often shady to the pretty ones. And I have to say to that, while that may be true, Brian, I feel that you should have no problems because you have a beautiful spirit, so you should be fine. Now we see Remini. She is at the Savoy. She is hosting, and she invites a couple of the guys to come down and see her in her element. And we see Marley, AO, Pablo, and Cali Boy. They come down to support her while she is performing. Marley is absolutely enthralled by her performance. He says he would pay to see her. He is captivated by everything that she is giving. Pablo lets us know that in this environment, he's to be very ignorant. And ignorance is not to know. He basically was not conscious of what he said and how he conducted himself around entertainers or female illusionists or anything of the sort. So he wants to be more aware and respectful. So they go outside and they have a chance to discuss. They meet with Remini, and someone brings up how she would like to be addressed, her pronouns. And she shares that, when she's in drag, she and her are fine. And when she is Tyree, which is her birth name, him and he are fine. So Pablo, in his confessional, he says he wants to be respectful, so at all times he will just refer to Remini as such. Remini. Hey, Remini. They reiterate the upcoming pajama party and the purpose and what the itinerary is expected to be. So Remini says, I know it's going to be shady, but she's looking forward to attending. Ao expresses that he's a little nervous about Devin coming. I don't know if that's foreshadowing, but he puts it in the atmosphere, and nevertheless, he's still looking forward to everybody coming. With that being said, we are now at the party. So everybody is approaching and coming in. And so Callie mentions that this is the first time that everybody is seeing him again since the puff and paint. So he wants this to be like an olive branch being extended. So if you want this to be like an olive branch, that means you want everything to go as smooth as possible. But he expresses he can't help but notice that everybody looks like they've been Amazon Express shipped. But, he extends grace. He says, he leaves it up to, it could have been last minute, preparation. And he includes himself in that. So, it's all good. So, Ao thanks everybody for coming. He extends a special thank you to Brian for being able to make it. And then Marley interjects and asks if Brian would introduce himself and say what he does. And then Callie interjects and says, well, why don't you introduce yourself? Which ensues everyone to do and around the table, and they do introductions. When they got to Devin, he introduced himself, his name, and his profession. And Callie asked him to repeat himself and kind of like, say it with his chest. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was nothing negative intended behind it. But I guess Devin took it the wrong way. Nevertheless, he repeated himself. And at that moment, I started to feel the spirit of Lauren enter the room. And I was like, I don't know what's about to come, but something is about to happen. So we continue to watch. And then lastly, Callie introduces himself. He says he's a makeup artist, he's a hairdresser, and he just stepped his foot into the door of styling. He also has a nonprofit, and he invited everyone to this upcoming parade that's going to be focused, I think, on nonviolence, and is around the post shooting at the club that happened, which piqued Marley's interest, and he wanted to get to know more and be enlightened by Callie on that subject. I felt like that might be a doorway into trauma bonding, but maybe that's just me. Moving right along. Father's Day is brought up. Callie mentions that Father's Day is coming up, and while he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do, he wants to honor the fathers, which is Ao, Pablo, Devin. Yeah. And Devin asks, do the others have their fathers in their life? And that's when Ao mentions that his father, he hasn't had a father in his life since the age of 1, with the exception of his gay father, his house father, I believe. Callie mentions that his father is Dominican. He doesn't speak English. And he's very masculine. So when Callie is around his father, he is very masculine presenting. Then Devin explains to us that he is a preacher's kid. He's a PK. And that while he and his father have a wonderful relationship, there are times where his father can be, I guess, a little insensitive from Devin's point of view, i.e., they were having a conversation and he referred to Devin's partner as his roommate. Now, I don't know if they are legally married. I don't know if they are in a domestic partnership. Nevertheless, it bothered Devin that his father referred to him as his roommate. And his father apologized and acknowledged the learning curve. But it appears that they do have a healthy relationship. What I didn't like is how there was a jump cut in Devin's confessional where he was kind of positively acknowledging Callie for positively acknowledging Devin's father. It kind of went like Devin acknowledging Callie. He was like, Callie, I'm paraphrasing, Callie threw him for a loop, and then it jump cut, and then it went into Devin discussing the relationship of he and his father. I wish they would have just expound on the thought behind what he was going to say about Callie Boy, because I believe that it was something positive, because Callie Boy did say something positive about Devin's father and the relationship between he and his father, and he was like, I would love to go to your father's church. So I wish we would have gotten more background on that. But now fast forward to Marley coming in and being able to observe everyone's story and sharing about their relationships with their fathers, and him being able to realize that he didn't have that experience and his family had to be cultivated by cousins and aunts that loved him enough to give him that sense of family. And he also shared how he had been shipped between 4 foster homes, and out of all of those foster homes, he had been touched in every single one. And I thought that was just heartbreaking. So my heart goes out to Marley J, and I hope that he has done the work to find healing in his journey so that he can be whole and be the best self for himself. Now we have Remini entering the building, and she came in already with the party started. She let us know that she had already been drinking. She lets us know that they were serving cold Rotel, and it was nasty. I've never had Rotel. Maybe I'll try it. I've never had it. But next they get a lighter and they light the cake. this is where things started to get confusion for me. I saw the cake. I saw the pictures on the cake. They light the cake. And then it starts to burn. Then I'm watching the people. I see Ayo and I see Cali Boy. They making eye contact and they looking like, I'm like, what's going on? After the cake burns out, then we realize, oh, Mac's face not on the cake. Why Mac's face not on the cake? Well, somebody forgot to put Max's face on the cake. Max say, well, the picture that was given, it was blurry, so they decided it shouldn't have been used. Then Ayo say, well, it's no shade because it was explained to Max and they trying to make it bigger than what it really is. Then Callie says, well, I didn't know nothing about no cake, no cupcakes. We wasn't even supposed to have that. I thought it was just supposed to be drinking in a kiki. Listen, somebody lying. So then they like, it's just a cake. It's just a cake. Cut the cake. Leave the cake alone. Let's just play games. Let's just move it along, move it along. Before I know it, Devin comes up and hits the cake. He just punched the cake. Why you punch the cake, Devin? Ayo looking at Devin. He say, I slapped that bitch. So, next scene, I don't know if this was a jump clip again, but Cali Boy is standing off to the side by the counter and Devin is sitting over there and he's like, California, why are you rolling your eyes at me? He said, I'm not rolling my eyes. And Cali Boy said, you know, I thought we had an agreement that we were going to respect these boundaries, and now you don't want to respect these boundaries, and I don't want to breach the agreement and grab your ass up because you don't want this. And so now Ayo's trying to regroup the group and saying, look, let's recongregate over here so we can play a game. And now Devin want to have a tantrum saying, you know, he could have went home and he could suck his man peen and he don't have to be here with all of this bullshit. So then Callie's like, look, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. Anybody that doesn't want to be here don't have to be here. If you want to go home and suck your man peen, go home and suck your man peen. Devin, if you don't want to be here, just leave. Why are you talking to me like this? I don't understand. Sis, I'm saying to you, if you don't want to be here, you can go. If you want to leave, you can leave. I'm just saying, if you want to leave, you can leave. At this moment, it just seems to me that Devin is not, he's discontent. He's not happy. And when you're not happy with the situation, it is best that you leave. However, he says that Cali Boy is doing all of this and he won't listen to anybody else. But nobody on that couch is talking. The only person that's trying to get a point across, other than Cali, is Devin. But Devin, you made your point. You said you could be at home sucking your man's meat. And if that's where you want to be, alakazam, alakazoo, out the door you go. So then he says he don't care about the iPhone in his face. And if they don't get him to calm down, he gonna start tearing up stuff. At that moment, that's when he wouldn't have had a choice. He would have had to leave. Because this room has been secured in my name on my card. And you are now a liability. And you will not destroy anything on my dime. Okay, sis? So, somehow, they were able to bring it back together. And we see them go into the bowl game. Ayo explains the bowl game. and he says they're going to do first impressions. You pull a name, you say what your first impression was about this person, good or bad. And this should be able to go over just fine with adults. First name Max pulls is Remini. So he says, first impression, when I met you at the party, I thought you were quiet and shy. But after tonight, that's totally been erased. So Remini saying, so what you saying? So because I didn't want to get into it with nobody at the event, and I wasn't with all the squabble, I was shy. But now because I'm matching y'all on the same energy tonight, now I'm the bad guy. I totally did not see how Remini received what Max was saying that way. I don't know how she received that way. You presented yourself at the event one way. You're presenting yourself at this event another way. He's making an observation. You're coming at him like an aggressive drunk auntie. And I shared the same sentiment. Don't snatch his head off. He said what he said. And you proving his point. Now we got Ayo. He pulled the name. It was Devin. He said, first impression, I thought you was about your shit. But then started to see that, might have been a little tethered. You might need to get, it was a little amateur. A little animated. And Remini proceeds to get a little giggle in. Now the MVP of this whole situation is Pablo. Because when it was said, you could clearly see that he wanted to get a chuckle too. But he contained himself. He broke, but he contained himself in the moment. So shout out to Pablo. But Remini begins to chuckle. And Devin's like, oh really? And she's like, no shade to you, girl. No shade. How could Devin not see that as direct shade to him, Remini? Soon as it was said, you started to laugh. But Remini proceeded to say something that could not be heard by us. It was that foul. But everybody's face reaction let us know we don't need to hear it. And Remini asked her, so when was your last sale? When was your last household? And it's like, don't go there. And she's like, people are intimidated when others have an actual profession. Remini said, bitch, I make money, okay? And we're not going to talk about professions because you know what I do. I make money. So, next thing I know, they with the back, forth and forth. And they going. And then she said, go home to your husband. That's what Remini said to Devin. And Devin said, yeah, I will. And you go home to your colonizer. Before you know it, Remini threw a t-shirt in Devin's face. And Devin said, not today, Satan, but did nothing about it. You throw something in my face and I'm going to touch you. I'm going to touch you, okay? Don't throw nothing at me. Don't get too close to me because I take that as a threat. If you get all up in my personal space, if I can't put my arm out, that means you close enough for me to touch you, and I will proceed to do so. So when Remini threw that t-shirt, Devin had every right to bless her, but he didn't. He proceeded with the name calling and the bashing, which I think is so unnecessary. And then Remini said, I'm clocking out. Cali Boy said, clock out. Ayo caught Remini at the door. They were trying to get some straightening and understanding. Cali trying to calm Devin down. Then somehow they bring it back together. The next thing you know, Devin is explaining to Remini that she didn't have to throw nothing in his face. She didn't have to, i.e., the shirt. She said, you could call me fake, you could say this about me, you could do whatever, and I get it. Remini wasn't, from what I could see, I couldn't hear, but from what I could see, wasn't giving response. Remini was laying across the chairs at the table and was just like, okay, Francesca, just paying it. Okay, Francesca. And Devin decided to flip the table. Flip the whole table. Like, oh my goodness. Now that's done got Cali Boy up out that seat. And now he like, that's on my card. Now you messing with my money. And Devin says, I'm sorry. I told you that was that spirit of Lauren and creeped up in that place. I told you, birds of a feather, they don't flock. They reproduce. And this is what you get. So I was not pleased about that. I was not happy at all. I was not happy. I was not pleased with Remini because she came in there on some drunk energy. It was very feisty. It was not a calm spirit. And Devin had some displaced aggression. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't peaceful, and it was too much. When you know you're not paying for things, conduct yourself accordingly. When you know you're not paying for things, conduct yourself accordingly. My mom said always, when you go to somebody else, I don't care if it's somebody else's house, it's somebody else's event, it's somebody else's. You go in, you find you somewhere to sit, and you sit down. You stay there. So no, I was not pleased. I was not pleased with that at all. The other thing, this throwing your ass in a circle. I understand that is this new generation's display of unbotheredness. But all you doing is stirring up perspiration and friction and odor. Sit it down. What it shows to me is that you have limited communication skills. You don't know how to communicate. Because you don't know what to say, you turn around and you start shaking your ass. If you want to diffuse a situation, simply walk away. It's just that easy. Or maybe I have aged out. Guess what? Leave it in the comments. We're going to discuss it. Let's create a dialogue. Do you think that Remini was out of line? Do you think that Devin overstepped his boundaries? And do you think that Ayo and Cali Boy had good intentions, but maybe the execution wasn't as thought out as they might have planned? let's talk about it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. And until next time,